Hi, in this presentation we will discuss about requirements for patent grant or patentability requirements. So requirements for patentability in USA, the basic requirements are utility, novelty, non-obviousness or inventiveness, disclosure requirements including written description, enablement, best mode and claim definiteness. So first requirement is utility. Invention should have at least one industrial utility. Next requirement is novelty. Invention should be new or novel. It should not be anticipated by prior art reference. And prior art is any relevant prior published literature or knowledge about invention before filing date of your patent application. So your invention should be new, it should not be anticipated by prior art reference or prior knowledge. Next requirement is non-obviousness or inventiveness. Invention should not be obvious to one of ordinary skill in art, and it should involve inventive step. So it's not be obvious to person of ordinary skill in the art, and person of ordinary skill in the art is a person who is having knowledge of that field of invention. And a person of ordinary skill in the art, suppose in case of chemical invention, will be considered a person having a graduate degree in chemical field or chemistry field. So your invention should be non-obvious and it should involve at least one inventive step. Next requirement for patentability is disclosure in specification, which involves written description requirement. There should be complete disclosure of your invention in the description section. You cannot hide anything about your invention. You have to disclose your invention completely along with the examples in a simple manner. Next requirement under disclosure is enablement. Invention should be well explained and described as to enable a person of ordinary skill in the art to practice the invention without an undue experimentation. Means your invention should be explained as well or very well so that person of ordinary skill in the art can practice that invention without undue experimentation. Next is best mode requirement under disclosure. You should disclose best mode or method of practicing your invention, the best mode which is known to you at the time of invention. You need to disclose best mode in the invention. You should describe that best mode in the description section. You cannot hide the best mode, and it may become a ground for challenging your patent if you do not disclose the best mode known to you at the time of invention. Next requirement is claim definiteness requirement. Your claim in the patent document should be clear, precise, definite, and the claim language should be non-ambiguous. So these are the basic requirements, and these requirements are also ground for challenging a patent after grant, because a patent can be challenged on basis of any of these grounds. It can be challenged on basis of utility. Somebody may challenge that your invention is not having any use. Somebody may challenge that your invention is not new. He may cite some reference before your invention date or filing date. Somebody may challenge the invention as obvious to person of ordinary skill. And somebody may challenge that you are not disclose the invention completely with example. You are not enabled. You are not disclose the enablement of your invention in the description. It is not enabling person of ordinary skill in the art. May be challenged on basis of non-disclosure of best mode of practicing your invention. It may be challenged on basis of claim definiteness. Somebody may say that your language of the claim in the patent document is not clear, not precise, it is ambiguous. So all these grounds, all these can be ground for challenge of patent. These are requirements for patentability of your invention. Let us discuss in little bit more detail the utility requirement under section 101. Only one utility is sufficient. You need not to prove the commercial success of your invention. And if examiner is rejecting your patent application on basis of non-utility or no utility, then examiner has to make the case of non-utility with evidence and explanation. Once examiner has made the case, then burden of rebuttal of this case is on applicant, and applicant can rebut by defending the prima facie case or attacking the prima facie case made by examiner by providing additional data to prove that examiner is wrong in making the case of non-utility. Next is novelty requirement under section 102. Your invention should be new, it should not be anticipated by any of the prior art reference. So when you are proving the novelty, you have to consider the statutory bar for novelty also. So any prior art reference anywhere in the world or sale or knowledge of your invention in US which is of more than 1 year prior to filing date for your invention. If any prior art reference is more than 1 year prior to your filing date, then you cannot defend that reference. You cannot antedate that reference, and it is a statutory bar. Your invention will be straightway rejected on basis of non-novelty. But if the reference is of date less than 1 year from filing date of your invention, then you can defend that reference and you can antedate that reference. How you will antedate that reference? By proving that your invention was done prior to prior art reference date. Maybe the date of reference is before filing date of your invention, but you have completed your invention before the prior art reference date. How will you prove that? You can prove that with your lab notes, with your experimental notes which you make in laboratory when doing the invention or experimenting about your invention, which are date wise. So you can produce your notebook, lab notebook, to prove that you completed the invention before the prior art reference publication date. So you can show the reduction of to practice of your invention before the date of prior art reference, and you can show either actual reduction of to practice of your invention. You can show that actually you have completed your invention, you have completed all your experiments about your invention before the date of reference. Or you can also prove it by constructive reduction to practice. Constructive reduction practice will be means you are doing the experiment in your lab, you started the experiment before the reference date, and you are doing all due diligence to complete the experiment. So you can antedate the prior art reference by proving that you have completed your invention before the date of reference, either by actual reduction to practice of your invention, actually completing the invention, or by constructive reduction to practice of invention with all due diligence. But if the reference date is of more than 1 year prior to your filing date of your patent application, then you cannot antedate or you cannot defend that reference. That will be a statutory bar and you cannot antedate or defend that reference. Next requirement for patentability is non-obviousness requirement under section 103. Examiner, if he is rejecting your invention on basis of obviousness, then examiner has to make the prima facie case of obviousness with evidence and explanation. Once the case has been made by examiner for obviousness, then burden of rebuttal of that case of obviousness is on applicant. Applicant can rebut by attacking or defending the case by providing additional data which prove that examiner is wrong in making the case of obviousness. And how can you rebut the prima facie case of obviousness? You can rebut the case of obviousness or defend the case of obviousness either by primary evidence or by secondary evidence. So now rebutting the case of obviousness by primary evidence, you can show that the prior art reference which examiner is citing is actually teaching away from the invention. Nowhere reference is saying that if you go this way you will reach to my invention. The reference is teaching away from my invention. Or you can show that there is no motivation or teaching in the prior art reference in order to reach to my invention. So by primary evidence, you can rebut by primary evidence by showing the teaching away in the prior art reference, or by showing that there is no motivation or teaching in the prior art reference in order to reach or to complete the invention. Now rebutting by secondary evidence. If you are not able to rebut by primary evidence, or you can even use as a supplement as secondary evidence for rebutting the obviousness rejection by examiner. You can show that there was long felt need in the market for invention which I have done, and people have tried for this invention and they have failed. There are failed experiments about this invention in the past. There was skepticism about the invention. People were saying that nobody will be able to reach to my invention, and there are unexpected results with my invention. It is showing commercial success. People are copying my invention. I have licensed my invention to many companies, and there is a industry wide respect for my invention. So these are secondary evidences based on which you can rebut the case of obviousness. Now coming to next requirement for patentability is written description. Applicants should reasonably describe or convey the concept of claimed invention to one of ordinary skill in art at the time of filing patent application. It is necessary that application describe claim limitation exactly and clearly. Sometimes drawing may also provide adequate written description. So your written description should be clear and detailed to one of ordinary skill in the art. Sometimes the deposition of samples may satisfy the written description requirement in biotech or biological invention. In case of biotech or biological invention, there is additional requirement that you need to submit the sample of your invention. Suppose somebody has discovered or invented a new microbe, new bacteria or virus or new biological material. So in order to complete the disclosure requirement, he has to deposit the sample of that microbe or that biological material in the national depository. So that sample which is deposited in the national depository sometime may satisfy the written description requirement about that invention. Range of values cited in claim should also be described in the disclosure of application. So I told you in some earlier presentation also that whatever you are writing in claim should also be described in the description section, and it should be supported by description or specification section. So whatever you are writing the claim, it should be supported by your description section. It should be described in description or specification section also. So range of values which are claiming in the claim section should be described in the disclosure section also. A single example of this that discloses the range of 2.5 2.6 in specification was considered insufficient to support the claim range ratio between 2 and 3. So the applicant has not disclosed all the ranges which he is claiming in the description section. So applicant has to disclose or describe whatever ranges he is claiming in the claim section. He has to also describe all those ratios in the description section also. Written description of patent application should sufficiently support the continuation application. That means the description in your parent application which you have filed should be sufficient to support the continuation application which you are filing later on. Disclosure is that which is taught and not which is claimed. Mean disclosure is not claimed, not what is claimed. It is teaching about the invention. Applicant is entitled to claim as broad as his disclosure allows. Means you whatever you are claiming should be supported by the description or disclosure. So applicant can claim as broadly as it is supported by the disclosure section or description section or specification section. Cannot claim more than whatever is described in the description section. New matter and subsequent amendments under section 132. Applicant is free to make amendment after filing of application which are supported by original written description. Suppose you have in application you have filed original disclosure which is very broad. So based on that disclosure in description section, you can amend your application. So you can make any amendment which is supported by description section. Applicant is prohibited from adding new matter not supported by original disclosure. So you cannot add anything new which is not supported by your original disclosure in description section, and doing so may lead to rejection of your application under section 132. Broadening of claims does not add new matter if it is supported by original disclosure. So if your original disclosure is very broad, you can amend your claim based on that disclosure. Mere rewording or rephrasing may not be addition of new matter. Mere amending disclosure to conform with originally described claim does not introduce new matter. Correcting obvious error may not be new matter addition. An incorporation by reference may provide necessary support for later changes without addition of new matter. You can suppose in continuation application you can incorporate that original parent application in that continuation application by incorporation by reference, and by doing so you basically are claiming that all the matter of that original parent application in your continuation application. Now next requirement is enablement requirement. At time of filing application, specification should contain a written description of invention which must enable skilled artisan or skilled person in the field to make and use the invention without undue experimentation. Means your specification should be well explained in order to enable person of skilled in the art to make and use the invention without undue experimentation. Scope of patent protection and interpretation of claims may be limited by scope of enabling disclosure. So your scope of claim may be limited if you are not enabling your invention completely in the disclosure section. Accordingly, disclosures should be carefully drafted to ensure that claims are not unnecessarily limited. Enablement can also be satisfied by incorporation by reference of enabling information. Next requirement is best mode requirement. Specifications must provide best mode of practicing the invention which is known to inventor at the time of filing. So he has to disclose the best mode which is known to him at the time of filing the invention. No concealment of best mode if cited best mode was not known to inventor at time of filing. So inventor has to disclose whatever best mode was known to him at the time of filing. There is no need to update the best mode after filing, and no need to update best mode in later filed application like in continuation application. Best mode does not need to describe the production certification. You have to just disclose the best mode of practicing the invention. It does not need to describe all detailed production specification. Next requirement for patentability is claim definiteness. Your language of claim should be precise, correct, and clear. It should be non-ambiguous. There should be no ambiguity in the meaning of the terms and language used in the claims. So claim must clearly point out and distinctly define the mates and bounds of subject matter that will be protected by patent grant. Claim must set forth the subject matter that applicant regards as his invention. The meaning of various terms or transitional phrases used in the claim should be clearly defined in the specification. So all the terms which you are using in the claim section should be explained and defined in the specification or description section. Any other than conventional meaning of a term used in claims should be clearly defined in the specification. You can use any term, you can give any meaning to that term in your claim section, but that meaning of that term should be explained in the description or specification section. So that's all in this presentation. Thank you very much.